Donald Trump has been talking in the news and posting on his True Social page about raising tariffs for, well, pretty much everybody on all imports. But the three ones I'm going to talk about today is the ones he was talking about for Mexico, Canada, and the extra ones for China. The reason why he said that he's imposing these tariffs is because of the illegal immigration in the border and for bringing crimes and drugs into the United States. Now, the tariffs that he's proposing is 25% on all goods from Canada and Mexico, and I think it's like an extra 10% on top of already the amazing amount, whole crap load amount of tariffs that they got against China already. Because during his first term, he already had a trade war against China. And some of those tariffs are still there, and he's also planning to put even more on. So today, what we're going to talk about is the 25% tariffs on all the products coming in from Canada and Mexico, and then the extra tariffs from China. Uh, Specifically because he said that it's try to get rid of the crime and drugs and the illegal immigrations. He said that the governments um, are able to take care of these problems. So I want to explain what they are, what this means, and how it could help, and let you guys decide if it's a good idea or bad. So we'll do the both pros and cons of it. First of all, a tariff is pretty much when a government taxes um, imported goods. They tax imported goods. And they have to be paid for before they can come into the country. Um, President Trump likes to promote that he's going to make the governments pay for this stuff, right? And that never happens, ever. Why he says that, I have no idea. He's completely lying about it because that stuff never happens. The people that pay for it will be the consumers, will be the companies, and all the other people that's involved, right? So the government's not involved with shipping in the stuff. They're not the ones buying the stuff, so they're not going to pay any of this stuff. What will happen is the companies that are shipping it in will go ahead and pay the extra 25% to have them put on stock here, and then the companies here will, increase the price of them 25%. So that way they can make that money back. That's the downfall of this stuff, is the fact that it's going to raise the prices of everyday goods coming from Mexico and Canada and China, whatever percentage he's planning on increasing these tariffs. That's the lowest that could happen. That's the lowest bad thing that can happen. Now, why is he doing this? So, like I said before, he mentioned about fentanyl, and the reason why he's mentioned about fentanyl and why these three countries are in particular is Mexico and Canada are border countries. So obviously, most of the drugs that come into America crosses our borders. It's usually made somewhere else, usually Mexico or somewhere in South America, and they do come across the Mexican border. Now, the tariffs will not affect them directly at all because they're legal. So it isn't like they're shipping them across the border legally and they pay this extra 25%. So what those tariffs do is they put um, pressure on these companies, which in turn show a loss, which also makes them complain to the government, and so the government decides to do something about it, and they will crack down on the cartels, which are making the fentanyl. If that makes sense to you guys, that's what happens. So that's why he's even doing this stuff, and it kind of worries me that he does the illegal immigration on there too. But that's a totally different story. I'm just going to do the fentanyl today. As far as Canada is involved in it, as far as I know, I mean, Canada's not really a big importer of drugs, so I'm pretty sure the only reason why he's doing that is just because it's another border country. We got pretty good relations with actually both Mexico and China. So I mean, I best Mexico and Canada. So um, they has a good chance of working. Matter of fact, actually, just a few days ago, I think Mexico did the biggest fentanyl bust that they've ever done. Like a few days after he released all this stuff. So they're not obviously going to come out and say, yeah, we're doing it because Trump is telling us to do it, obviously. So, but it is kind of cool that they're releasing it. But personally, I think they've been doing this to begin with. Raids just don't happen overnight. They happen. It takes years to come up with evidence for it, years to come up with the plan, and it just don't. That type of stuff just doesn't happen overnight. It's just too dangerous. So this stuff's already been. Those stuff has already probably been in works for years. And whether they capitalize on them because of these tariffs is a totally different story. But the investigations definitely have been there for years. Now, Trump is also, like I said, he's claiming this to do this on day one. I'm going to read here what he says. It says, on January 20th, as one of my many first executive orders, I will sign all necessary documents to charge Mexico and Canada a 25% tariff on all products coming into the United States and its ridiculous open borders. So this tariff will remain in effect until such time as drugs, in particular fentanyl, and all illegal aliens stop this invasion of our country. Okay, so that's the one with Canada and Mexico. He also said that China will face higher tariffs on its goods by 10% above any existing tariffs until it prevents the flow of illegal drugs into the United States. Now, China used to be a big exporter on fentanyl, meth. They still are a big exporter, but they're nowhere near as big as what they used to be. China really did actually and has been cracking down on their drug dealers and their manufacturing plants of fentanyl and meth and whatever drugs you can think of. I don't know the reason why they actually started doing that, but I do know that it's been all over the news. They've actually started cracking down on it a lot. This has been years ago. So they're nowhere near the size of in the fentanyl game as they used to be. What they do deal in is the chemicals that make fentanyl. Okay. They have, chemical companies that are legit legal companies, that people will go there and they will order barrels and barrels of the chemicals needed to make it. And they will ship these chemicals to, for instance, Mexico, since that's one of the countries we're talking about. And there, the cartel or whoever will take these chemicals, mix them together there, and make the fentanyl. Then the fentanyl will be shipped from wherever they was made from across the border into the United States. Not all fentanyl is like this, but most of it is. According to the DEA, most of it is. I mean, obviously, there's no way they can track 100% of it. If they could, then there would be no drugs in the United States. So, but as far as I know, this is the way things are, and so that's his reasoning behind this. He wants to pressure China into stopping the flow of the chemical and also keep pressure on them to keep the fentanyl companies from sending it out and other drugs from sending it out as well. The major problem with China is that last time he tried to do this when he was in office and it started a trade war, and all that did was cause problems. It causes problems because that's literally what happens. And they're already stating that that's what's going to happen if he does do this. And I don't put it past them whatsoever. China is the second biggest economy in the world if they haven't passed this already. So they don't have to listen to anything we say at all. None at all. So all they're going to do is turn right around and slap more tariffs on us, and then we're going to have to do it back on them, and it's going to go back and forth. And the people that are going to get hurt is the companies that are trying to do legal means, and the consumers that are buying their products, that have the tariffs on them. As far as the goods, let me see if I can find that here. As far as the goods that will be tariffed here, so that way you can get an idea of maybe some of these will affect you or not. Well, first of all, it says here that what I've found out is the measure that's proposed. Let's see, the U.S. industrial sectors, it'll hit them hard, and approximately about $272 billion a year to tax burdens, raise goods prices, lift interest rates, and sap strength in the already vulnerable household sector. That is what the Core Pay cross-border solution person is saying. The reason for that being is that from Canada, our top import from Canada is actually oil. We get, say in July they hit a record. It was 4.3 million barrels per day in July. I mean, that's a lot of oil per day. We also import cars from there, machinery, various other commodities, plastics, wood, all that comes from Canada. So each one of those items, if they're imported from Canada, will have a 25% tariff on them. So you're looking at higher gas prices with the oil. You're looking at higher prices for cars, machinery, the commodities, anything dealing with plastic on it, right? Wood, right? So that's a possibility that these could raise because of the hits. Also, Mexico is the biggest supplier of cars and car parts in the United States. Almost every American car company has moved their factories down to Mexico. So even though they're an American company, they will still have to pay the tariff cost to import into the United States. So even it's crazy, but so even buying Ford, Chevy, all that stuff, if their factory is in Mexico and they have to send it up to here, you will have to pay an extra 25% on whatever parts and whatever cars that they will have to go on it. Now I'm saying have to. I mean possibility. I mean they might eat the cost. I don't believe that would ever happen. But they might eat the cost. There might be some wonderful CEO take charge that says, you know what, we'll go ahead and eat the 25% cost on these, but I just don't see that happening, especially with automobiles. Automobiles are already so expensive, I just don't believe that's ever going to happen. And automobiles are also part of agreements, the other different agreements where we sell so many of them to other countries anyways, so they're going to make their money back either way it goes if they put that in there. The people that's going to hurt are the people like us buying those cars. Mexico is also a major supplier, in electronics, machinery, oil and optical apparatus, and a significant amount of furniture and alcohol comes from the country into the United States. The imports we get from China, in addition to machinery, toys, we get obviously mostly electronics from China. We get machinery, toys, games, sports equipment, furniture, and plastics as well from China. Like I said before, his first term, he implemented tariffs says about $380 billion worth of goods that applied to thousands of Chinese-made products, including baseball hats, luggage, bicycles, TVs, and sneakers. All the stuff you can buy from the Trump website. And the Trump tariffs also hit foreign steel, aluminum, and washing machines and solar panels. Let's see. So there's supposed to be the U.S. imports from Canada and Mexico are supposed to be exempted from tariffs because of the USMCA trade agreement that he signed between the three nations. But I mean, he says right now, it says it's not clear how Trump would plan to implement the proposed tariffs without violating USMCA. But I mean, he'll figure it out. So this could cost an average household over $2,066 a year. Now, this is just the ones from these three countries that I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about the other ones, because he's talking about like another 20%. The numbers keep changing. He keeps changing the numbers. But he's talking about a flat one that for every single thing that comes into the country and everything. Now, so these are on top of all that. So this is the extra. And I mean, just like with the when the epidemic hit us, the pandemic hit us, and everybody raised their prices because shipping was awful and there was supply chain issues, and none of those prices went down. Like they're still as high as they are been there, even though everything's been cleared up, been a whole lot better. None of those prices have really dropped at all, because once a company realizes that you're going to pay a certain price for a product, they know that you're going to forget these things like this or here, dealing with math and dealing with these percentages, because people don't pay attention to this stuff, which is the reason why I'm bringing it up on this channel. So we don't pay enough attention to this stuff. We don't know enough about it. They don't go over this enough in school, and when they do it like for a week and expect you to believe to understand it. And the problem with that is that this stuff affects everyday lives and really hurts people that are already hurting more than anything, which is why I'm bringing it up here now. Okay, I already explained. I'm pretty sure I explained both sides of it. I explained why he's doing it. I explained why he's doing it. I explained that the governments of each country will hopefully in turn crack down on the illegal things that's coming across the border, crime, drugs, all that stuff. I also reiterated that it will not be the governments that's going to pay this, even though he says and all the time that's what's going to happen. The governments will not pay this, okay, because the governments have nothing to do with this at all. The people that will be paying it will be the companies that are sending it across the border and the people buying the stuff. Will it work? That is up to you guys. You can leave it down in the comment down below if you want to. Let me know what you think, if it's going to work. Like I said, supposedly Mexico has already done the biggest fentanyl bust that they've ever done just a few days ago. And I mean, who knows? Maybe it's because of Trump. Personally, I don't believe that. Personally, I think it's in the news because of that, but I don't think they did it for that reason. I think they just saw it, two birds, one stone type thing. Hey, we're getting ready to take us down. It's going to be a big bust. Let's put it in the news, make it look like that we're doing it. Because in all honesty, the government really ain't going to care about this crap. And Mexico is so divided between cartel and the normal people that it's going to take a lot more than tariffs to clean that place up. And especially the countries that are further south than Mexico. I mean, Mexico's bad, but the ones further south are even worse. And that's actually where most of our immigrants come from. It's not really Mexico. They come from below Mexico. So a lot of them do, seeking asylum. And so you can let me know if this works or not. Hopefully there won't be no tariff war, trade war, which is where, one company, which is one government will raise the prices, the other one will raise another one back and forth until everybody lives in that scenario, because nobody wins a trade war. Just like the China guy said, nobody wins that at all. Anyway, so that's pretty much everything I want to go over today.